if you want.
11th of January, Rabbi Furst, Pierke Avos.
Right, yeah. Okay, right. Good morning. Thank you, Lou. Right there, this is Rabbi Shlomo Furst. And Sheshivat Samanavshi here in Shloim Kerek Zoom is our first year. We're in the middle of our learning the Maral Meprag on the 10th Mishnah in the 5th Parak of Pierke Avos, the Maimer Chazal of Shalish Sholcha and Shalish Sholcha Shalach, talking about the Chassid and how can that be in terms of the understanding of the Maral Meprag. That's the 4th paragraph. We're just past the Gemara that he mentions there, about 3-4 lines up from the bottom. Gemara and Kesubis. Yeah, Avil. That's the that's where we're the Avil. 3 lines up from the bottom. You can continue on, Mayor, if you like.
Valshema Amru Khan. We just did that. Shalish Shalcha Vishalcha Shalcha Hu Hasid. Hainu Shehu Mevater Ad Chomesh O. Kasher yirtze lefi haraoi, v'lo ba lomar shekach hu omer al kol asher lo ki davar ze b'vadai ein ra'oi lomar u'v'davar ze ein tzarich laharich klal pashut hu.
So he just concludes. He says, "Lo bal omer shekachu omer al kol asher lo." It's definitely not the person when he says he has this attitude. His attitude is shalish shalacha. What's mine is yours. That's definitely not referring to that everything of mine belongs to you. Devado ein roy lomer. That's definitely not proper to say. And this thing we don't have to elaborate upon any further. And this is obvious because we're going to see this concept of shali sholcha, the concept of what's mine is yours, as the Maral said in the beginning of this last 4th paragraph. It's impossible to say that he's referring to everything that is mine belongs to you. That's impossible. People just don't live that way. And as a matter of fact, when we see the Mishnah later on, we'll be going to maybe it's a nice transfer from this what we're doing now to the next statement that a person says shali shalcha v'shalcha shalach, and that there is a statement of Chazal that they say. Just read the full. Let's go back and read the full Mishnah here. Full Mishnah as we will continue on with tomorrow. So the first Mishnah, the first Arba midos ba'adam. So you have shali shali v'shalcha shalach zebin midah beininis and yeishol midas sedon. That's what we've been discussing. Then you have shali shalach. What's mine is yours. V'shalcha shali, and what's yours is mine. Ama aretz. He's simply an ama aretz, right? And so that's what we're going to discuss probably tomorrow. We're going to try and understand why that's considered to be an ama aretz, and because why is it an ama aretz? Because it's tied to this statement that we just were dealing with. To say erroneously that when he says shali shalcha, that's mine is yours, to say that absolutely everything of mine belongs to you, that's impossible. That's idiocy. Nobody thinks that way except maybe the communists, right? And even they didn't believe
Even
it.
they don't do that.
Right? Yeah, they said it, but they didn't believe it.
Yeah.
And they certainly didn't do it. It sounds nice, right? Whatever is mine is yours, and whatever is yours is mine. Like, they're very nice utopian thought, but it's really, according to Chazal, idiocy. We'll see, though. We'll go into that tomorrow. Because people simply can't live that way. People, nobody in the world is willing to give up completely everything that he owns for somebody else. If you have big tzaddikim that they open their homes for people, but they don't give away their homes to people. They open their homes, open the hospitality. They'll do things, but they don't give away their net worth, and they don't give away their properties. They definitely keep things for themselves. it's necessary, and that's what Maharal proved. Because in Kesubas, the Daf Nun Amud Aleph, they tell you you can't b'mazbez, you can't give away more than a 20th of your net worth for possessions and income, because otherwise you'll become destitute yourself, Hasu Sholem, and then you'll have to be depending on the public to help you out. You want to help people, so you can't. Very nice. It's a wonderful thing. It's a very tremendous thing, a tremendous mitzvah. Definitely should be done, but not in a way that's going to be exorbitant and extravagant. In a way that's going to Hasu make the person who's trying to benefit other people become impoverished himself. So that's what the Maharal concludes on this. And Blineder, I'll try Blineder. I'll send out a document later today on the continuation of the Mishnah. So good. Yeah, Amir, go ahead.
Are there any Mishnayot that describe the other side, the one who's taking? Is he restricted to what really he can take?
Well, there are halakas. There are, in terms of let's say a person who receives tzedakah, right? Mm-hmm. So there are halakas that are relevant to the person receiving the tzedakah, that he has to be careful to only take what he actually needs, and not to take more than what he needs. And as a matter of fact, there is a hilchos derech eretz that when you're asking for something, let's say you're not impoverished. Let's say you're simply asking for something, a favor from somebody. It's not proper to ask for more than what you actually need. Yeah, okay. That's what one of the things I mentioned when we come to Parshas Chaisara, right? Parshas Chaisara, when Avram Avinu sent his Eved Eliezer to find the shidduch for Yitzchak, so he sent him to Padam Aram, right? And if I'm not mistaken, it's mentioned there that the distance between, if I'm not Hebron, I think the Avram Avinu was in Hebron at the time, or Beersheba. The distance between those places and Padam Aram was about, I think, 2 weeks, 17 days travel. 17 days travel, right? And the Medrash says that Eliezer, Eved Abraham, and his 10 camels and the men with him, they had fitzas derech. I think Rashi himself even mentions that. They had fitzas derech. Through miracles, Kadosh Baruch Hu brought them there the same day. They traveled the whole distance within 3 hours. They arrived they left in the morning, they arrived in the afternoon. And so therefore, the efforts that Rivka went through to bring the water to Eliezer and his men and the camels, right? In fact, the camels and even the men, there was no great need of water. They didn't, obviously, if you're going to be traveling for 17 days with camels, you definitely take provisions, and you definitely make sure that the camels all tanked up. Right? We mentioned this at least once before. Make sure that the camels are all tanked up. So a camel which is all tanked up within 3 hours after it's being fully tanked, I'm sure it has not very much of a thirst at all to drink water, right? So the actual needs of the camels that had to be supplied were very minimal, right? Very minimal. Right. And so therefore, if you look at the pasuk, you'll see that Eliezer, when he mentioned to Rivka about bringing them water, he said ma'at mayim, a little bit of water, a little bit of water. He didn't say bring a lot of water, not a middle, just bring a little bit of water. So on one hand, it could be that it was simply speaking according to the truth. According to the truth, they only need a little bit of water. They didn't need a lot of water. She, however, from her point of view, she went overboard because she understands somebody coming across in those days, they didn't have the facilities like we have now when you're traveling intercity travel, right? When a person was traveling intercity, they traveled distances and distances, and she understood if they were coming from intercity traveling, they were in need of full tanks. She understood that the camels and the men probably all needed full tanks of water. So she was willing and going to give them, according to what she understood the situation to be, a full tanks of water. But nevertheless, in fact, they only needed a little bit. That's why Eliezer, because he wanted to be honest, number one, and only ask for what he needed, which is the derech eretz. Whenever you ask for something, you should only ask for what you need. Don't ask for what you don't need. That's part of derech eretz when you're asking for something.
Right. Very good. Thank you.
Fine. Okay, good. Good time to stop. And Mr. Shem, Roy should have a good afternoon. I hope to see you tomorrow.
I'm fine. Same here. See
Okay,
you.
we'll take a little break. As I say, I'm probably going to switch computers for some reason. If we lose our signal, it doesn't renew. So we'll just have to recheck in again, and we'll start everything up fresh again.